So hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I want to take you guys on a deep dive through the meaning of the concept divine femininity. So right before I dive into the concept of divine femininity, so I want to break it down for people who are new to this subject. They can quickly catch up and understand what it basically means. So first of all, I want to make you guys understand that every living human being, man and woman, each have two distinct energies, two different energies basically running them. Every human being is born with both the masculine and feminine energy in them. And these two energies, when adequately balanced within their energy fields, balanced not in the sense of 50-50 balance, it's more like a harmonious balance. So, a harmonious balance does not necessarily mean 50-50. Sometimes it could be 30 to 70 or 80 to 20 in 100% range, whereby the main essence of the human container dominates. It dominates the energy field more than the other essence. But the point of the whole thing is both energies are present in the same body, whether male or female. So these energies, when harmoniously balanced within the energy field of the individual, it creates the capacity for that individual to be operating mentally and physically in a state of well-being, for that individual to be able to self-actualize or to be able to have a good relationship with himself and also have a good relationship or interaction with the world. Understanding the feminine and the masculine energy dynamics can help any individual in achieving the following human needs. Number one, to create a healthy and balanced relationship with the opposite sex. I feel like this point pretty much ties it all together, right? Because there was once a time when men were very masculine, not divine masculine. They were very masculine and they had little understanding of women, which was one of the reasons why women were, back in the days, like back before modern civilization, right? Women were heavily being seen as a property rather than a person. Of course, they never used these words to describe it, but this is just what it was, right? And a part of the reason for that was men did not see women. They did not really understand what is the capacity of this gender beyond giving birth to children and taking care of a home and basically serving her master, her husband. So I think to the period between the outcry of women against the patriarchy system at the time and the period which women were finally given the opportunities to show their capacities in different fields outside of the home, something happened between that period for women to be able to move from the commodity status to the status of people who are now seen and perceived by the dominant sex of the society at the time, which is obviously the men. Now in this state where women are being seen by the men as a group of people that could actually make a difference in the world. So I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So what happened between that brief period when that change happened? Understanding was what happened. And that understanding would never have been possible if there wasn't a part of the man in the woman and a part of the woman in the man. So when the women, cried out and, tried to appeal and fight for their rights and fight for the men to see them, right? When that happened, that understanding that took place was only able to happen because the men now understand. And I'm not talking about like all the men, of course. I'm talking about the few men in history that actually gave women the opportunity to shine, like the opportunity to show themselves. So that understanding that happened is as a result of similar qualities that we share. Like we share this like similar nature in a way. The second human needs that the understanding of the feminine and the masculine energy dynamics helps you to achieve as an individual is tapping into your highest potential. Tapping into your highest potential. When I think about potential, I think about capacity. I believe that the capacity that we have within us as human beings, they were put there for us to explore. And by explore, I mean for us to kind of find a balance on how to use both to attain our highest capabilities in a way. If they weren't meant to be explored, they would never be there in the first place. Now, think about it, right? Now we've established the understanding that every person has the feminine and the masculine energy in them. But the men, they have predominantly the masculine energy. And then the female, the ladies, the women, they have predominantly the feminine energy. So let's take the women for instance. She has predominantly the feminine energy, but there's a reason why the masculine energy was put inside of her. It was meant to be explored. And in the course of this video, you will get to understand why both energies were put inside of us for our exploration. And it is the exploration, the fullness, the understanding of the both energies, because how else can you attain your highest potential if you don't explore both energies? And how can you explore both energies if you don't understand them? Or if you don't even believe that they exist inside you? Just think about that for a second. So the third human need is a better understanding of your own psychology. So this is kind of similar to the second point that I just mentioned, which is still part of exploring your potential as a person, right? You cannot go very far in this life if you do not know certain things about yourself, because we're not all the same, right? If your best friend achieves success in a certain way, practicing a set of daily habits consistently to attain success, that is not enough proof that you can follow his exact step and achieve the exact kind of success that he achieved. So there is a need for every human to understand their own psychology, because basically the better you understand yourself, the better you're able to coach yourself into achieving things in life, and in the process of that realizing and reaching your highest potential possible. So the fourth human need is learning to communicate effectively in all spheres or all areas of life. So of course, communication is very, very important. Communication was how the world was built. Communication is why we have all the things that we have today. Communication is how human civilization in all parts of the world has gotten to the stage where it is today. Communication is the reason why I'm able to communicate through the internet to a lot of you wonderful people in different parts of the world that I don't even know. I can't even speak your native language, but communication is how I am able to express my ideas and you are able to understand what I'm saying. So communication is such a powerful tool. It is one of the oldest arts in human civilization, and it will continue till the end of time. It is so important that you are able to communicate in every areas of life, not just with people. I'm talking about communicate, like interact with your environment, interact with the people around you, interact with yourself, interact with God. So communication is so important, and it wouldn't be possible if we do not understand the masculine and feminine energy dynamics. If you're going to be able to communicate with the feminine energy, you need to understand, or at least understand the basics of the feminine energy to be able to communicate effectively with the feminine energy, and likewise the masculine energy as well. So let me just give like a short example in that regard. Let's bring it down to a very simple, typical romantic relationship scenario. I'm sure by now it is not news that men and women do not receive communications the same way, right? So if you communicate certain things to a guy, he will pick it or like perceive it the way a masculine energy would sense it, would pick it out. And if you communicate to a lady, she is going to perceive that communication or receive that communication the way the feminine energy would normally receive the communication. So you could give a guy a flower, just this small flower, right? And it's going to be, oh, this nice, thank you, and it's probably going to throw it away. But if you give that same small piece of flower, like this small piece that I have right here, and you a guy, you give it to a girl, the way she would perceive it is different from the way a guy would perceive it if he was given that piece of flower by a random girl. So he could just look at it and be like, oh, this is cute, thank you for giving me. And as he's going about his day, he's probably just going to throw it off or probably even leave it behind at the restaurant. He's not really going to give much meaning to it. But if a random guy gives that same small piece of flower to a lady, she's going to read meaning to it. She's going to wonder, okay, is he trying to tell me something? What is he trying to communicate to me? She's most likely going to keep the flower. You know, some even go as far as smelling the flower and trying to use their intuition to come up with a perfect answer as to why a stranger would give her the flower. So you see the difference. So the flower is the communication in this scenario. You see that it's still the same piece of flower, right? But the way the two sexes communicate and perceive and receive that flower is different. So this is just a very, very perfect example of how men communicate differently than ladies. And if you're going to be able to form a successful relationship with the opposite sex, especially when it's an intimate relationship like a romantic relationship, there is a dire need for you to understand the feminine energy and understand the masculine energy. That way you're able to understand how both energies behave. If you're able to understand how they behave, you're in a better position to communicate with them. And communication brings success. It brings, it made the world what it is today. When there is a perfect sync of communication, it brings a healthy environment for things to grow and flourish, for you to be able to create something. So usually when you see two people come together where they cannot communicate, it leads to chaos. We all know this example. I don't need to spend too much time on it. Like, we all know that. So it is basically what it is. So moving on. It is important to note that ignoring the understanding of these two individual energies pretty much leaves you in the category of people who majority of their behavior and their interaction with the world is mostly being affected by external stimulus. This can be such as their device, this can be environment, right? They are hardly able to generate their own decisions by themselves. So this is not something you want to ignore.